Asterisk, why did Jimin suddenly cry when he mentioned Jungkook's name on the latest broadcast? What exactly did Jungkook hide when he was drafted to make Jimin unable to hold back tears? Will this change the ARMY's view of their relationship? Discover heart-wrenching facts that have never been revealed before. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the most emotional story from BTS. Asterisk, is it possible that someone who has been looking so strong turns out to have wounds that even his closest friends don't know about? And is Jimin's recent cry in front of the camera proof that there is something deeper than just ordinary longing? These questions are now echoing in the minds of millions of BTS fans, especially after video footage showing Jimin crying at the mention of Jungkook's name went viral on social media. However, what made the moment even more disturbing was one sentence that could be heard softly from Jimin's lips. Asterisk, if I knew, I would have come earlier. Asterisk, what do those words mean? And what secrets did Jungkook hide during his military service, leaving Jimin feeling guilty and devastated? One thing is certain. What is revealed afterwards is not something that is easily accepted. Not by Jimin, not the BTS members, not even by the ARMY who had long believed they knew everything about Jungkook. You need to know that Jimin's cry is not just an ordinary cry. It was a cry that came out of someone who had harbored something for too long. Something he hadn't even had time to say to Jungkook in person. The atmosphere of the studio was suddenly quiet. Even the hosts who initially laughed with the production staff were visibly speechless. Jimin's voice trembled. They tried to laugh at their memories, but his voice was broken. I just don't know. He went through all that alone, Jimin muttered as he wiped away his tears. The moment took place behind the scenes recording of a special program that was originally going to be a form of appreciation for Jungkook during his military service. But as it turned out, as production went on and information began to flow from people close to Jungkook in the camp, something changed dramatically. Jimin looks devastated. Not for the fact that his best friend was struggling with the rigors of military life, it was that they were already preparing. But because there is one thing that even he, as the closest person, does not know at all. And here's what started the conversation. Why is Jungkook hiding everything? In Jungkook's personal notes, which were recently discovered by the staff managing the military documents, there were some handwritten notes that were never sent to anyone. In one of the pages that Jimin later reads and becomes the trigger for his tears, Jungkook writes, "I'm sorry that I chose not to tell anyone, including Jimin Hyung. I know they'll all be worried, but I don't want to be a burden anymore." Asterisk, that sentence is enough to shatter anyone's emotional defenses, even more so for someone who has stood by him for years. Jimin knew very well that Jungkook often harbored feelings, but he never thought that the younger brother he considered like a part of his soul was going through his hardest time without leaning on anyone. Jungkook experienced repeated panic attacks in the first 2 months of military training. No one from BTS knows that it all comes to light when a military nurse on duty anonymously shares censored medical records with the specials producers. Not to bring Jungkook down, but because they feel like no one from his family knows. Then why is Jungkook keeping it a secret? "I just want you all to stay proud," Jungkook wrote in another part of his note. This is the real reason. He doesn't want to be pitted. He doesn't want any of the BTS members to feel like they have to come to visit or cancel their schedules because of him. Jungkook, with all his simplicity, prefers to hold it all in his own hands in order to keep the smiles of those he loves. But ironically, it was precisely that decision that made Jimin feel like a failure. In an interview continued after the incident, Jimin said, "I always tell him if he's okay, he should call me. But now I know, even he was too scared for that." Jungkook, he thought he had to be strong on his own. Asterisk, these words are not just confessions. It was the guilt of a friend. And that was the beginning of what fans called the most emotional rift in BTS history. Not because of conflict, but because of a love that was too deep and a sense of caring that finally didn't have time to unfold. The video then went viral. The reaction of netizens was divided. There are those who feel proud of Jungkook's courage to hide his pain for the sake of others. But many were also angry, feeling Jungkook should have allowed himself to not always look strong. "What is friendship if you can't cry on your best friend's shoulder?" wrote one of the fans in the comments that more than 500,000 people have now liked. and the comments were a public reflection of the tension that currently surrounds the dynamics of the members' relationship, especially when Taehyung makes a comment that implies disappointment. "I can accept he didn't tell me. Didn't you tell Jimin? That's what I can't accept." The statement became Jimin's second burst of tears during a live broadcast on his birthday. He did not say anything, only touched his chest while looking down, as if implying a wound that could not be treated with words. Meanwhile, the military finally gave official clarification. They said Jungkook's condition was stable and no longer under intensive surveillance. However, to their surprise, they also revealed that Jungkook had applied for a secret leave not to go home, but just to be alone in one location in the Gangwon Mountains, carrying a guitar, books, and letters he had never sent. Is he writing lyrics? Or a farewell letter? This suspicion begins to surface when an audio note from Jungkook's old cell phone left in the old dorm is discovered by the staff. In one of the recordings, which only lasted 17 seconds, his voice is heard saying, "If I don't return, please tell Hyung. He's my lifesaver." The footage has now become the most widely shared sound piece among the army, and many believe the voice was intended for Jimin. Now, the public is waiting for one thing: their in-person meeting. Will Jimin see Jungkook in person once he comes out of his leave? Will they reprimand each other, or just be silent in an embrace, without words? One thing is for sure: their feelings are too deep to be explained through social media, and the wound that was left too long finally exploded at an unexpected moment. Not only fans, even BTS management staff were visibly hit. One of their old managers, who declined to be named, said, "All this time we thought Jimin was the most emotionally strong person. But that night, we knew he was the most devastated man." Will this change BTS's relationship forever? Or are they stronger than before? The answer is still vague. But Jimin's affection for Jungkook is undeniable. And when Jungkook finally reappears in public, will he smile or cry, knowing that the rest of the world now knows the wounds he tried to cover alone? But apparently, it wasn't just panic attacks or hidden notes that made Jimin unable to hold back tears. What followed was more devastating than anyone could have imagined. Even the BTS members themselves looked shocked when they were told by the documentary production team that was originally tasked with making an appreciation film for Jungkook in a post-production session. One of the video editors found a snippet of footage from the internal CCTV of a military training ground. A recording without sound, only visual, which shows something that is not acceptable to many people until now. Jungkook was caught pushing someone under heavy rain, his body trembling, his face full of anger, and several senior soldiers were seen trying to restrain him. What happened then was never officially reported. There are no records of incidents. There is no military punishment. But from her body language and facial expressions, it was clear it wasn't just another emotional outburst. It is anger that is held for too long and ends up exploding because of a single word or a single treatment that triggers old wounds. And here's what's even more disturbing. Rumors are now growing in internal circles that Jungkook was once the target of covert bullying by one of the higher-ranking coaches. In fact, rumors suggest that one of the reasons Jungkook pleaded for the sudden leave of absence was not just because of his declining mental health, but because he was subjected to inappropriate physical acts during night training sessions. There is no official confirmation. But here's what hurts. The agency never told the members, including Jimin. All covered. One of the staff who co-authored the documentary project finally spoke out on condition of anonymity. He said, "We all know that agencies have a reason to maintain a reputation. But covering up the fact that someone as strong as Jungkook is asking for protection, that's outrageous." The words spread quickly among the army community and made most of them furious. They began to question HYB. They questioned the system. They asked, if Jungkook can be forced to remain silent, what about the other idols? And to make matters worse, a short video showing Jimin grasping a letter Jungkook had not yet sent him, recently discovered in a private box at training camp, sparked an even bigger furor. The letter, which had been largely destroyed by getting wet, left only a vague fragment of the sentence, "If this is my last, I'm sorry, Hyung. I'm too afraid you'll be disappointed." The word "my last" becomes the center of all worries. Did Jungkook think of ending it all? This question haunts Jimin to this day. And that's why, in the next live broadcast, when fans asked Jimin to sing Jungkook's favorite song, he couldn't continue. He closed his face, stopped singing, and just said softly, "I can't. Sorry." The reaction of netizens was unbearable. Trending topics were met by the hashtags #ProtectJungkook and #JiminHeartbreaks. Even senior artists who knew them from the beginning of their debut began to speak up. One famous South Korean singer wrote on her personal social media, "They are not just idols. They're human. And humans can crack if they continue to be forced to smile when injured." But the excitement did not stop there. One cutout photo allegedly taken secretly by a janitor at the training camp showed Jungkook sitting alone on the back steps of the barracks, wearing a shabby hoodie, looking up at the night sky while holding something, which turned out to be Jimin's ring. The ring was a birthday gift from Jimin to Jungkook 2 years ago. They've never been seen together since they started their business. But that night, in the photo, Jungkook held her tight as if he was talking secretly to the person he missed the most but couldn't reach. After the photo spread, the mood of the fandom changed dramatically. Angry comments against HYB are getting crazier. Some fans even claim to have evidence that the agency blocked communication between Jungkook and the other BTS members during the first few weeks of enlistment. One account identified as a former HYB staffer wrote a message that could not be ignored. Jungkook sent a voice note to Jimin. "But we were told not to." The boss said, "He has to be strong himself first." If that's true, then this is no longer just a story about a best friend who lost contact. This is a deliberate psychological intervention. And the main victim was a young boy who had been known for his smile, which turned out to hide so many wounds. When asked for comment, Jimin only answered briefly, "If that were true, I would not remain silent." Words are like promises. And from then on, the public waited not only for news of Jungkook's condition, but also for the possibility that Jimin would take action that the members had avoided against the policies of his own agency. Shortly thereafter, news broke that Jimin had turned down one of the label's exclusive contract offers for a solo show, citing not wanting to put on a happy face when the heart is bleeding. A strong reaction came from the sponsors, but the public supports it. Even some foreign media called it a symbol of emotional resistance to the entertainment industry system that silences emotions. Is this the beginning of a split between BTS members and the management system that houses them? Is it time for the idols to speak up about the suffering that has been hidden for the sake of public image? One thing is certain. Jimin and Jungkook's story has opened everyone's eyes to the fact that behind the stage lights, there are tears that are never seen. There are fears that are hidden with a smile. And there is love that sometimes cannot be conveyed in time. And when love is too late, all that remains is regret. But precisely when the public began to feel that it could not be more broken, one shocking statement emerged that changed everything. Someone from HYB's inner circle, who had been silent, eventually leaked the contents of an internal memo that was claimed to come from the highest level of the meeting room, a memo that contained an indirect order to avoid excessive spotlight on Jungkook during his military service in order to maintain the balance of the image of the other members. What does this mean? For most people, this sounds like an attempt to maintain the professionalism of the group. But for those who know Jungkook and Jimin more deeply, especially for ARMY who are always watching closely, this sounds more like a betrayal from home. The house they have been desperately defending for more than a decade. And this is where Jimin's anger can no longer be held back. According to a source close to the production staff, Jimin came to HYB's headquarters secretly, unaccompanied by the staff, and asked for an explanation directly from one of the directors. He carried the documents, Jungkook's handwritten notes, and pieces of letters that had been carefully dried by the documentary staff. The meeting is said to have lasted for nearly an hour. Not recorded, not rumored. But after leaving the room, Jimin was seen throwing his access ID to the lobby floor and only said softly to one of the staff who happened to see, "If I can't protect him here, I don't want to be here." The sentence was like an earthquake in HYB's body. An eerie silence hung from that day. The staff no longer spoke openly. Jimin's schedule was suddenly empty. Appearances on the TV program were canceled one by one without official explanation. While the public began to guess, will Jimin step down? Even more surprising, the next day, Jimin's official Weverse account uploaded a short snippet of the voice recording. Just one sentence, "Jungkook, it's not your fault. No other evidence. No follow-up. But thousands of fans burst into tears, flooding the comments with hope, support, and anger. Not a few began drafting petitions demanding clarification from HYB, even threatening to boycott official content until Jungkook returned and spoke for himself. But the greatest resistance came from the unexpected. A senior military trainer, previously considered neutral, admitted that there was indeed outside pressure for Jungkook to be treated like an ordinary soldier without privileges. But according to him, what happened was outrageous, because some of the staff actually made Jungkook an object of satire and ridicule because they felt burdened by his popularity.